Hello, welcome to How to Measure Fun for Game Designer. I'm Szomolai and I will be your host for the next 50 minutes, maybe a little bit more with questions, maybe afterward on the Discord. First thing first I have to say is that this presentation and ideas in it is heavily based on this book, How to Measure Anything by Douglas Hubbard, and it's just one of the references that I'm going to use and show you during the presentation, because it's really important that the presentation is going to be useful and practical for you, because that's the goal. I am Szomolai. Currently, I am a game system and balance designer in People Can Fly here in Warsaw, where I'm sitting now in the conference room. And previously, I was game designer with specialization and monetization in game economics, Bohemia Interactive in Brno, Czech Republic. Currently, I'm working on a project which is called Outriders, which is PvE game. And it's premium and everything is done when it's released. And previously, I was working on Vigor, and Vigor is free-to-play PvP-only game and even have early access. But why is it important? These two projects are so different in so many regards. And one of the few things that was really common for both of them is that I did not understand what made them fun when I started on them. And now I think I understand a bit. And what I want to share is basically the method that I come up with to find out what is fun. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed both of the projects I was working on professionally. I really had fun, but that's not my work. My work is to make it fun for everybody else. I mean, at least for our players, right? So I have to come up with something like how to transfer this fun, how to find out if it's fun for somebody else. Again, I like different games than they are, but again, I'm professional. So because I have a background in humanities, and philosophy, I started to do what I do best. I started with research. And that's what this is going to be about. So I started with easy fun. I bought the books and started reading about what is fun. And all design books basically start with what is fun and what are games. And every single one. And if you ever open any book, like from Koske or like Advanced Game Design Song, it's always, this is fun, this is games. And similarly to every other definition of intangible things, like health, or religion, or security, or politics, or ideology, each definition is flawed in one way or another. That's one thing. Another thing is, again, I'm game designer, not game academic, so looking for definition is not something I'm getting paid for, and it's not something I want to do, really. It's more than two. So I come up with the more pragmatic solution, and I started to looking for what can I use without knowing what is fun? And I found out I don't need to know what is fun. When you take this, what is kilogram? Well, when you look for a definition of what is kilogram, you will find out that 1 kilogram is this really long formula. And this is real definition that is used since last year, actually. Before it was some different definition, 100 years ago it was defined by 1 liter of water. But if I want to lose weight, if I want to weigh something on the scales in the kitchen, if I want to know how much something weighs, if I can lift it, I don't need to know this definition. I don't need to know this formula. I need to know a little bit less. I need to know just pragmatic part of what is kilogram. And I know that it's relative measurement of weight. If somebody say, this thing has 500 kilos, I'll be like, it's pretty heavy. I would not like it to land on me. Or if somebody say, oh, these weights have 10 kilos, I'm like, yeah, I can train with them with these specific trainings. And actually, this pragmatical simplification can be done also on what is fun. So I did it. And the goal of this simplification is for me to understand what I'm looking for. And how I see it, and what was really common in all of this definition and all of this literature, is that fun is somehow connected to feelings and experiences. It's connected to enjoyment, love, success, challenge, progression, sadness, whatever. So I don't have to know what is fun. I kind of have to know more about these feelings and experiences. Once I understood this, I also have to go further, because not all games offer all of these experiences and feelings, and not for everybody. There are different types of fun. Like, for example, you may know the Lazarus definition, like hard fun and easy fun and so on. And I can look for what is fun in our game or our project, in the thing that I do. So again, I'm doing pragmatical deconstruction of what fun is, and I'm looking for our fun. So I can say, oh, the part of our fun is a challenge and enjoyment. So after I found that, I can go even further, because I kind of know how the fun manifests in the world, but I a little bit more know how challenge and enjoyment can be manifested in the world. For example, people are crying, or when they are sad, or they're frowning when they're really focused. And what it means that more from this intangible theoretical thing, fun here, the further from it we are closer to the real world, something that is happening around us, something that is observable it is, the better it is measurable. So I don't know what fun is, but I know that fun that I want my players to have in my game is somehow connected to challenge and enjoyment. And I don't really, again, know what totally challenge and enjoyment is, but kind of understand that challenge and enjoyment are connected to laughter and frown face when they're super focused, and like gripping the controller when they're in the mood and don't want to like let go of the thing, and making it harder even if they don't want to, like playing on bananas and so on. And suddenly it's something that the camera can see, or like I can record, I can write about, I can see without asking them. Suddenly it's something that can be measured. So first thing first, we don't need to know what X is, or in our case, what fun is, to measure it. We need to know how it manifests in the world to the degree where we can comprehend it. Of course, somebody can say, hey, you don't really know what frowning or crying is. It's a multiple of like whole orchestra of things that are happening on the body and the muscle spasms and so on. Yes, and that's why it's important to get it to the degree where we can easily comprehend it as people, and we can share this comprehension. Of course, if somebody asks me what is fun, I can talk about like, oh, I think fun is this and this and this, and we can have discussion. But once we have this discussion, it's really hard to approximate these two views on the fun. So it's not really measurement. And so we are looking for the degree of understanding. Why is that important? Because measurement in the end is nothing else than approximation of one phenomena to another phenomena till we get to the point where we understand. This is reason why some people, for example, say that the boat is length of 20 football stadiums, or that they use cups for measurement, or we are using basically KPIs. Like, what does it mean daily active per user? How does it correlate to fun? No way. But if we approximate this to and something else, that if many people are in the game, it's meant that, and for long, that probably means that they really enjoy it and so on. So it's an approximation of one thing to another. When I say something in 20 kilos, we are just approximating it to the whole definition of kilo. We are approximating it, and we are using kilos because we understand what 20 kilos is. Because there was a moment in our life when we had experience of pushing 20 kilos or having 20 kilos or lifting 20 kilos. or seeing an item of similar weight in 20 kilos. So this is basic measurement. That is really closely connected to the scientific method. Scientific method is something that is not really new, and it somehow was shaped in the history of our world for at least 2,000 years. And we start calling it scientific method sometimes after Francis Bacon, basically. Of course, again, I'm game designer, I'm not scientist. And so my theories don't have as such hardcore rigidity as scientific theories would have. But I don't need that. Scientific theories are way more hardcore. We are working with way less hardcore theories that just show us how we can work with something, how we can measure something to get predictions from that. I really like this meme graph of the scientific method. First, because it showed the simple fact of scientific method. Of course, it omits some really important stuff like corroboration and falsification and verification and all this really important part of science. But it showed the basic value, and also it showed the basic structure, how we learn about world according to reflexive pedagogy, for example. But it also showed the memes which express emotions which you're going to feel at each stage. Very simple, there is a theory. And a lot of people think at the start, a lot of people imagine the theory have to be something peer-reviewed, something published, something really formal. But that is not true. We have a lot of theories about the world. Everybody who have cognitive abilities of adult human have some folk theories about worlds. Even people 5,000 years ago, without knowing anything about Newton, had some folk theory what happened if I let the phone go. What will happen with it? It will fall down. We have some theory which say things that are above ground will fall down. And you can see that there was a bunch of theory before gravity, for example, Aristotelian theory of the natural places. So we have theories. And there are a lot of space of theories before they get scientific. Scientific theories are theories that have really hardcore rules that have to be fulfilled. We can have other theories that are not there, but we still are learning something from that. So once we have theory, and we have theory how things works, but we have folk theories about how people will respond to certain behaviors. Right now, I don't see any of you, but my folk theory is that some people are watching this video and this stream. So I hope so. That's my theory. I will have to observe and corroborate it with some system. And so that's another point, is that after we have theory, we have to do observations. We are looking if the theory is really working in the world. Then we are questioning, like, if this is happening, will this happen? Then we have a hypothesis about how the things are connected. If we think that we know how the things are connected, we will create prediction. I think if I do this, I think if I will let the phone go from my hand, it will fall down. That's my prediction. And then I do experiment or measurement. And then it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen, and we're going to improve the theory. Either without rigor. Why is this important? Adding rigor and formulating it, making it formal, help us, because we are putting it from inside understanding to the paper, and we are putting it outside so other people can corroborate it. So that's a place where we measure. This is the experiment, the prediction, the hypothesis, the place where we measure, and this is the thing I'm going to talk more about in the measurement phase. So theories, slightly put, are clusters of hypotheses. Again, hypothesis is mostly if A is true, then B is true. Theories mostly are big clusters of interconnected hypotheses. If A is true, then B is true. If B is true, then C is true. Therefore, if A is true, then C has to be true again. You can see a lot of things around us. just the thing we are watching this video or stream on is based on these theories. It's based on the big pile of knowledge that we have from scientific world and experimentation and so on. And clusters of these theories can be called paradigms, but that would be somewhere else. What is important, theories are big clusters. It's not clusters of hypotheses, and these hypotheses may not confirm on each other. And some of these hypotheses are more true than others, because most theories are so complex in a modern world, and we are living in some complex world. It is not always logical truth or logical connection, totally logical connection between these two variables. A lot of times you will see if A, the 90% chance that B, and if B, the 90% chance that D, and suddenly you have 90% of 90% from A to D, which is 81%, right? And this variability is something that creates the discrepancies in the theories. Oh, sorry for that. Why is this important? In these theories, we can find some variables which will be our proxies. Proxy is a thing that we kind of comprehend. And I will give an example from the free-to-play market. One of KPIs that is often mentioned is daily active users. As I said, we have some theory about why is daily active users important? Because we believe that more people are appearing every day, they probably more enjoy it, and more people there is higher chance that we will buy something, and more people there is some chance that we'll buy more in the game, so we'll make more money. So even before we see how much money we do, we can see that how many people we have, and based on that we can do prediction on how much money we will have. And let's say that our daily active users is A in this case, is our proxy, something we understand, daily active users. And the behavior of the customer, and I mean real behavior of the customers in the game are B. And there is a lot of things and a lot of complex connection between B and E, like how D, C, and X, and a lot of variables that are moving in the game, like what kind of day they had, what type of market is pandemic outside. So many things that are different for them every day that we just have to trust these theories and connections. And we have to find this one proxy. And what is also important is that all these connections are so complex that we cannot possibly, as humans, comprehend them all. But we can reduce them, we can simplify them, similar as fun, to something we can understand on first glance, and that is our proxy. That's why in our KPIs, we are not measuring what kind of day people had that day. We can do that on analysis side, but we are measuring how many people was there. So daily active users. Once we have this proxy, we can continue and start looking for the things we want to induce. Again, frowning and laughing is something that is really far away from having fun. People can frown and laugh and do all this stuff, have all these behaviors, gripping the controller and so on, without having fun. And there is a lot of connections between fun and these behaviors. What is important is that we somehow have theories in which we trust, and some of them may be scientific because we found out from some scientists. Some of them may be just intuitive. They are coming from us. It's something we've seen and created our own flow theories of that. Further, the distant the proxies from the thing, less trusted it can be. And more we have to put work into that to make it make sense, more we have to corroborate it and so on. And what is important in measuring, and especially measuring of intangible things, we cannot measure security, we cannot measure health, we cannot measure how religious somebody is, how much fun they have. We can measure how much they laugh, how many times they laugh per minute, for example, how many times they said on their Reddit review that they really love the game or really hate the game, how many times they wanted special features or one specific feature in the game. And that's what we are looking for. We are looking for Proxy for the feeling and experience and fun that they are looking for. And we are connecting these proxies. And of course, it's better to find as close proxy as possible, but a lot of time we will find a very distant proxy. Why is this important? In the end, all design, not only game design, all design is about decisions. It is about what's going to be in game, what's not going to be in game, how it's going to be in game, how the implementation is going to work. It's just a series of decisions that will create the whole system, complex system of the game or product that players or users going to use. And good decisions are such decisions that have a higher profit or like gives back more than other alternatives to this decision. Like KPI said, like lifetime value of the player is higher than the cost for purchase this customer. And good decisions are based on information. So well-informed decisions are usually good decisions. I've seen a bunch of presentation already on this conference, one before this talk, and other was yesterday was called engineering from designers. And that's one of the methods how we can make good informed decision by analysis and so on. I'm going to talk about it a bit later too. So measurement or research on this decision, finding the information for this decision is also part of the cost of making this decision. So good measurement is a compromise of the cost of measurement and amount of information that gives us for this decision. And this is really important for us as game designers. Again, we are not researchers. Yes, some companies have game researchers, and it's awesome job, and some people can do in academia, and they are paid, and the thing that is expected from them is results of research. But our results, our expected results is fun, making good games, making fun games, making enjoyable games. And if we are making such measurements, we have to be aware that they are not the point. So we cannot invest so much time into them. And that's the whole point. There's a lot of people think that there are only two groups. Either you don't do any research and just design, or you do just research. And what I'm saying is that there is a lot of ground, a lot of possibility space between these two. And you have to, for every point in this possibility space, you have to find the point which is best for you at that situation. Some research, some features, some decisions are small. They don't need a lot of research or don't need research at all because they are not so costly. Or you think it's not so costly because you have some folk theory about how it works. And some decision actually deserves a lot of research and a lot of R&D and a lot of thinking about it. So, like, this is the important point. Let's go further. And so basically, all these measurements have different degrees, and I want to mention three the biggest levers you can work with to change this position of the measurement. I would say accuracy, precision, and granularity. Accuracy talk about how close you are to the target. For example, imagine that you weigh 100 kilos. And if your scale is measuring precisely, accurately, you will, on average, from all measurements, be on 100 kilos. But for example, if the scale is precise but not accurate but not precise, it may sometimes give you 80 kilos, sometimes 120. So the difference between each measurement will be very big, but on average, it's going to be very accurate. Precision is how much your measurements are on the same point. Again, if you have if you are weighing 100 kilos and your scale always tell you, oh, it's 110, it's not really accurate because it shows you the wrong value, but it's really precise because every time it's showing you 110. In the accurate, not precise case, you can extrapolate by averaging if you know that they are not precise. In the case of precise, not accurate, you can find out what is the difference, and you can just always calculate it down. And there is a third thing, and that's granularity. Especially in scientific research, they are going for very laser focused, precise research. They are looking for very specific type of information in very controlled values. And it's great. And sometimes when you can have high granularity, or there is a low granularity when you are just generally looking in the topic and finding out. In a general, more accurate, more precise, higher granularity of your research is, it's going to be more trustworthy. You can base bigger theories on it. The connection between hypotheses you will find out, and the results will be more trustworthy. But also more trustworthy in this means more expensive. This is important because from time to time, it is okay to have not accurate, not precise, with low granularity results. For example, in your case, when you don't know absolutely nothing about that. Imagine that I never worked on a puzzle game, and someday I will be my work. Yeah, you have to make a puzzle game fun. So if I don't have any information, playing one puzzle game will give me more information. Researching one puzzle game will give me way more information than having none. While if I'm making puzzle game for 20 years, then playing another one puzzle game will not tell me anything. It's not precise or accurate or granular enough. And this is exactly that is happening. When I was working on these games, I knew, so what are the things? And I can play them. And already one playing game definitely showed me some things. I don't have to do super precise calculation when I was starting on building economy and understanding it. Spreadsheet that I did in 2 hours was good enough at that moment to extrapolate basic information in the game. So another thing that is important, again, I measure a lot of things, not only when I'm making games, I measure a lot of things in my personal life. And basically we are obsessed with statistics as humans, actually. This year especially, like you see so many statistics, so many data from the pandemics. And what is really dangerous is that humans are pattern making machines. Basically, it's evolutionary thing. Like it is better to see a tiger in the bush and run away from nothing than don't see a tiger when he's there and be dead. So it happens that we see the faces in the clouds and we see patterns in the data. It's really important, and I've seen it. I've seen some designers were aspiring to measure some stuff, and they use one method. And they say, this is good enough. But from this one method, they overvalue the trustworthiness of this one method, of this measurement, and come to the conclusions that were just not true, just because they didn't understand or were aware of this trustworthiness. So beware the noise, and correlation does not mean causation, okay? When you see pattern, you have to corroborate on it. And really good way how you can corroborate on things is do multiple different tests and do multiple different methods. This is one thing, again, that I've seen a lot in the game designers. For example, when we are balancing stuff or trying new stuff, they go there and they play it. and they have intuitive understanding of what's going on. They're like, oh, this feels good, this feels bad. And that's great, but based on this one simple observation, based on this one method of this intuitive understanding, they make a conclusion about what is the state of the world. And that's probably just not trustworthy enough. They may be right, but they also may not. Already, if you are playtesting with 3 people, you already have 3 opinions. It's even better because you can corroborate with 3 different measurements. So beware the noise. That's basically it. Fun. You don't have to know what it is, and you can measure it. If you are using basic approach of a scientific method, we call it scientific method. It didn't start like that. Now I want to come to some more practical things and what I do when I'm learning about stuff. So how to? First, most important, most obviously used, and I know a lot of designers who use just this. They use heuristics, rules of thumbs, and rules of thumb, or intuition, or introspection, or educated guess. What does it mean? They start the game, they play the game, they say this and this and this have to change, or they don't have to change, or this is it. If we are lucky, we're doing it in the group. And that's a great method. Actually, it is working with your folk theories. And you will start here and you will probably end here. Because we are making games for the humans and we are making them for their heuristics. And if you have really good heuristics, it will work. And there are a bunch of rules of thumbs that you will hear on the different, like you will read in different books, and you will see it on the GDC talks, and there will some professionals gonna swear by. It's like the late game, like bad game will never be, like delayed game will eventually be good, or like exponential progressions are always better because it feels better when there are bigger the number differences. And I'm also guilty of saying a bunch of this stuff because they just work for me, but that does not mean they are trustworthy. You will use heuristics and it's a really good tool, but you have to be aware of the limitation of heuristics. First, there is first thing, you can try new intuition. When I started working on games, I wasn't playing much. I definitely wasn't playing games outside of my comfort zone. And one of the best things that happened to me is that my previous boss said to me, you have to keep game journal, and it's like your task for this half a year to have a game journal. One of the best things, because I trained my intuition in understanding and trained my heuristic in understanding the games and mechanics. The next thing you can do is show the games and to the people who are not playing it every day. Do have differently trained intuition, have different heuristics. If you have colleague who is not designer programmers, like you will see that if you prototype something in the design department and show it to the coder, he will find a so obvious problem you haven't seen for months. It's like, oh, why is this? I don't understand this. They're like, what? Wait, you can show it to somebody else. If you are indie dev, this is why it's great to show your games on the internet or go to the conferences and so on, because you will have intuitions of other people. You can show it to somebody who already have intuition because it's done this type of stuff. And be aware of limitations. Be aware of the cognitive biases. And there are a bunch of books I have on the screen, like Thinking Fast and Slow, and Irrational, Predictably Irrational, or Misbehaving, and probably you've seen the talk on the Friday from Celia Hodant about the biases and UX. If you are aware of the biases, you can actually fight through towards them. For example, there is a problem with the loss aversion or the comparison bias, where people generally just like things how they are before the change, and so on. So one thing that you can do, or the things they can do to improve your heuristics, to just play the different games, to like improve your measurement tool, and be aware of your biases. And don't underestimate the heuristics. Heuristics and intuition in the games are very important. Even in super analytics, data-driven mobile games, it is important that everybody plays the game and understands the game. It comes to the second big tool of the measurement, and that is playtesting. Playtesting is not just playing the game. Playtesting is looking for the limitation and inner working of the game. And I believe that everybody in the big studios, in big projects, should play the game. Everybody should playtest the game and looking for the problems, looking for the limitations. Everybody should try to play different way that they are playing. What's important, again, it's not playing. The difference between playing and playtesting is that you have a goal. What are you looking for in your playtesting session? You have some base settings. So for example, everybody should play like this. Let's try this way. And you should share what did you find out. You should share your introspections. Again, once you share your introspections, or once you put it into paper, once you say it, something that is written and taught is in the world can be measured, can be researched, can be compared, it can be approximated to every other things. So find the goal and put it outside. Don't just say your feeling. If you're saying your feeling, put them out on paper. Another thing that you may not know is discursive analysis. Again, talking and writing, and especially writing on the internet, is also a type of behavior. And it's coming from some feelings and some experiences. So it's proxy for the feelings and the experiences of the fan. So you can actually study the language and the words that these people use and understand what they mean in the context and what they want, how much fun they have, and what they actually experience. And a lot of us already know there are a bunch of specific words that are very specific for game world, like OP, overpowered. It does not make sense outside of games. It very much makes sense in the game balancing. What does it mean when somebody say this is OP? It probably means that playing with it is not fair, and not fair is not fun. So the fairness is part of fun of your game, and that's why you have to be aware of that. In one game, there is possibility to burn their teammates, so their friends cannot rise them up. So insta-burning, somebody was burning them really fast. And it looks like, is there abuse of this mechanic? Maybe, maybe not. But it's definitely something that is so important and prevalent in the community that it may be worthy of additional research, and it may be worthy to think when you are making decisions around it. Nerf, bushbooking, and so on. What you can do, and something I did, I took one of the comments from the Reddit and I marked the important things of something that is important for me in that idea. Like, oh, they're like trading. If I go through the whole forum and multiple forums and I see, oh, there's trading mentioned a lot of times, it means that maybe when we are deciding the new feature, we can actually start talking about trading. And maybe we may talk about what is trading basically in this game. Does it mean they really want to exchange the resources? Or does it mean they just want to meet in non-combat, they want to have non-combat relationships? So maybe it's not about resource trading. With the discursive analysis, because it's so intangible, it's really important to set a research goal. And often this is going to be explorative research goals, like what is really important for a community right now? What is really hated by us? What is the biggest problem in the game community? And discursive analysis actually can bring you a lot of data that are very different than analytics, because a lot of time they are talking about stuff that are not in the game, so you cannot have analytics on them. And a lot of times they will bring you information about what is happening to community outside of game. Like maybe you made the game and you thought, oh, our game is as another game X, but actually communities start to perceive them more like game Y. So you will have to fulfill or not fulfill their expectations, and they're gonna have expectations. So discursive analysis, definitely check it out. Quantitative analysis, it's something you will see the most because it's kind of the easiest, because you can do it by computer, and because computers are pretty good with numbers. And this is the place where all the KPIs come from. If you have data analysts in the company, if you have researcher, don't really need to know much, but I believe that every designer should know the basic of the statistics. And what is really important about this is that all things can be quantified if you are able to transfer them into KPIs. If you can find what are the critical variables and what are the key performance indicators and what are the relationships, you will find out how to measure it. Again, I said daily active users somehow correlate with how much money people spend, but retention correlates with how much people actually enjoy it. Number that says, oh yeah, 50% of players returns every day, clearly stated people like the game in your market and context and so on. So this is something that you should get in, and again, learn the basic of statistics. And I want to recommend this books, is Naked Statistics. Statistics, learn the statistics and create a data-driven organization. So there's another method. Again, you don't need to have a big spreadsheets. Just simple kill to death ratio is already quantitative analysis of something. When you are analyzing damage per second, unless you are like hero clicker, your damage per second gonna be just quantitative analysis, which will be not really true, because the hero is probably doing other movements than just damaging. They are moving, they are trading, and so on. Already, when you take like how much damage you do with one hit and how many hits you do with in 1 second, you already do first steps of the quantitative analysis of the hero, and you can have DPS of different heroes, even though they do different things, and you can compare that. You are measuring them towards each other, and you can already learning about some relationship between these heroes or weapons and so on. Very simple. Last thing, the models, and it's thing that I'm using the most, and probably things that are used the most. Basically, every time you are simplifying and moving away from something in the game, you are omitting some information in the game, you are creating model because it's simpler. You are omitting a lot of stuff to understand it, to be able. Basically, this presentation is model of my method. And you can make model too. It's super easy. You just need spreadsheets mostly. What is really important about models is that, or like key to creating models, is be able to identify what are the key, most important variables, what are the things that you have to know about, and what are the key relationships. Again, when you're giving DPS to heroes and you're measuring their effectiveness in combat, this is pretty good KPI, and this is a good thing to measure in model. If you just want to know how damageful they are, and if you improve this model by adding range, so you can divide it by range, long range, of course, DPS is pretty much better because the hero can do damage longer time because they can shoot longer, and melee damage, their DPS, of course, going to be lower because they have to come close. Very good in this regard is, for example, Monte Carlo simulation. There is a lot of randomization in the games. And what you can do is not calculate these randomized events. You can actually simulate the rolls and then statistically analyze the results. And you can come up with some statistical evidence that will show you, I simulated this and it looks like this. So this point is some point where you can start. Models are not good for tracking individual cases. Models are really good for tracking the general cases and the limits of the system and the average of the system. So if you learn how to roll the things, how to find the important connections, and critical variables. You can build it around game. And again, it does not have to be computer-generated, super hardcore game life model. It does not have to be AI learning model. You can do it in spreadsheet in an hour. You can do it in Machinarium in 15 minutes. You can make a diagram. Any diagram of system is basically a model of the system with important nodes and important relationships. So model. And in the end, for me, domain analysis. And I heard this bunch of times that somebody's going to be like, oh, we don't make games like this. We don't make games like this. Or we do different genres, or we do our own stuff. I even heard people who are like, oh, I make this game, but I don't play this genre of games. And that's super weird for me because they are losing some information. Basically, domain analysis is something coming from the engineering. And you are looking at all the products that are somehow similar, and you are trying to describe and understand how it is working. Basically, for example, when I was doing monetization and I was making a shop, what does it mean? I open 10 other games and write all the variables, all the prices, all the system, all the clicks, all the flows of their shop. So I can find out what is something that is really similar in each of it. And I found a lot of similarities in each of it. And I found a lot of differences. But when I finished, I had this paper where I said, hey, this is this 5 similarities and these 5 differences in each of them. And I think we have to apply these similarities. I don't understand why they work, but obviously they work in these games. So let's try it and let's see how it works. And of course, then we have to corroborate it with other methods. But always the best is the combination of this. It starts with intuition, then do the domain analysis, then do some discursive analysis on what people think about all the domains, and then do some analytics once it's released. Corroborating methods together, best possible thing. So another method is interview. You literally can do this. Go to somebody and say, hey, what is best loot in the game? And you will get an answer. And from that answer, you can code it. You can find out, like in discursive analysis, this is important, this is important, this is important, this is important. And you make like 5 interviews. And then you find out that in all 5 interviews, there is this one thing that is repeated, that it is fun. Again, you don't know if it's fun, but it looks like it's because the data shows that this one thing is repeated, so it may be worth a try. In the interviews, very basic is use open, simple, and clean questions. So if possible, don't explain it and so on. Be really like, what is X? What kind of X is epsilon, and so on. Really clean. Another thing that really helps you to quantify it is asking scales, like, loot in our game on scale 1 to 10, how good is this? How good it is? And somebody gonna tell you 7, and you're like, oh, what? Why 7? And you already have some opinion you can work on. And you can, from this opinion, from this behavior, from this answer, you can come up to some feelings and experiences. And you can know, oh, this is feelings and experiences which are worthy and I love them, but they are not part of our game. This is not part of our fun, so it's actually not good for us. We have to look for a different one. We should look for different features maybe, or change it. So that's my methods. I just do quick summary. So don't be afraid of measurement. There are big possibility space between no measurements and scientific measurements. Work step by step, formalize it to make it more trustworthy. Define what is the decision, what you want to decide, what is the goal, because based on that you can find out how much it costs. Build your theory, which you're probably starting from the fault theory. Define your best possible hypothesis. Define what is best possible proxies, like what is the closest thing that you understand that you can use to measure this. Measure it, and then improve your theory, formalize it, work on it. And you will work on it until you know enough to make a decision. Use multiple methods, don't just use one, use multiple to corroborate, to increase the trustworthiness of your theory. Again, predicted benefits from your research. If you are saying, oh, I'm now weak, I'm gonna do a discursive analysis or something, you should know the cost, or you should predict the cost. And we are not making scientific theories. We are making decisions to make things fun. Because we are designers, we are not researchers. So we don't need perfect theory, just need enough information to make better decisions. So once again, I'm Roman Szomolai. I have Twitter and I have Gmail, and I also have article on which I was basing this talk. Now is Q&A time. So I will open the Slido and I will check what is there. Okay, it's advice for the tools or plugins for complete beginners and on the budget. Machinario, I don't know if I'm saying economics, really good for beginners. But honestly, the best modeling tool I ever using is Excel. If you want to push your game even higher, Python. So Excel, Machinario. Okay, if there are no more questions, then thank you very much and goodbye.